Fortunately, we can do it again because it's cable access television. So here, we'll just start over again. Nobody will even know because nobody will be watching. I'm flustered. All right, welcome back to the worst fantasy football show ever, possibly the worst television show ever. Joining me on the phone is my main man Ryan from Fargentina.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Doing wonderful.
Wonderful, yeah. You've got a little different look going on this week.
Oh, really?
Yep. I guess you probably don't know. I mean, you have a 1 in maybe 9 chance of guessing. But, yeah, this week you're wearing what appears to be a red, white, and blue basketball jersey of some sort. And you've got some sort of a fro going.
Aha.
And a red sweatband and some... Is that a Fu Manchu, perhaps? Is that the appropriate call for that? Some sort of handlebar mustache.
All right.
Looking good is what
All
I'm
right.
getting at. So.
Representing the Washington Bullets.
Ah, right on. What's the name on the back of it?
That would have been an old Chris Webber jersey.
Oh. Wow. I don't know what to say about that. Were you a Fab Five guy or what?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. I liked him then for sure. I don't even remember him playing for the Bullets, honestly. Or I guess it was Wizards or Bullets.
It would have been later the Wizards, yes.
Okay. All right. Nonetheless, that has nothing to do with why we're talking to each other in a recorded setting. Fantasy football. We have experienced week 1. Fortunately or unfortunately for some. So let's see here. I guess what I'm going to do is we're going to pull up some top performers from week 1. And let's see, what have we got here? Up first is quarterbacks. And I put the top 20 on there. So in some ways, there's no surprises. Aaron Rodgers right up there at the top. That's not right. Huh. It should probably be Matt Ryan, right?
Yes, I believe Matt Ryan was the number 1.
I don't know what I've got going on here. So this seems like maybe I pulled the wrong graphic or the wrong picture. This has Aaron Rodgers and Jay Cutler at the top, and I think that this factored in Thursday night's performances, which still I don't know why they'd be at the top, but it's the combined 1 and 2 weeks I think versus everybody else's week 1 performance. So we'll just skip over that. Matt Ryan was obviously the top performer that week. I guess Robert Griffin Jr. or Robert Griffin III would have been up there as well. Yeah, this list doesn't make any sense. I'm going to take it off screen right now. Running backs. I don't know if this is right either. Darren McFadden, Kevin Smith, Ray Rice, C.J. Spiller, Stephen Ridley, Matt Forte. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty close.
Yeah. Let's see here. I had McFadden on, I don't know if it was a team that mattered or not, but I enjoyed him. I definitely had Ray Rice. You, unfortunately, had C.J. Spiller on one of your teams.
On the bench.
On the bench. But was that, that was an obvious, that's not a mistake by any stretch.
Well, I could have started him over, I think, Greg Little.
Okay.
Who threw out a big 0.
That's
so
true.
I made a wonderful choice there.
Well,
and it paid off beautifully.
I think both of those guys would be throwing darts, essentially. C.J. Spiller, I think it's safe to say, would not have had the day that he had had Fred Jackson stayed in the game all day.
Sure. And he probably, if I had started him, just because I had started him on my one team, probably would have done nothing, just to spite me.
Right. Fred Jackson would have had 400 yards, and C.J. Spiller would have brought him water.
Right.
Wide receivers, let's see here. What do we got? Kevin Ogletree at the top, so this must be accurate.
Your main man.
Well, yeah, you know.
Oh, you love Kevin Ogletree.
I got a text from our brother-in-law last night. Actually, as soon as Greg Jennings was ruled inactive for the Thursday night football game, and he had a choice between Ogletree and Jeremy Maclin, actually. And so he was like, "What should I do? What should I do?" And I was like, "Well, you know, Macklin's in trouble this week too, possibly." So I don't know. I don't believe in Kevin Ogletree as like that's going to be his best game of the season, most likely. Wouldn't you agree, or what do you think?
Or maybe ever, since he's never had a game like that.
Indeed. But if Jason Witten is fully in repair or on that path, and then Austin and Bryant get back to form, then you would think Ogletree will be in the shadows a lot more often.
I certainly don't think he's a Will Robinson type of player.
Right.
But now Julio Jones, he's a man.
I love Julio Jones. I don't own him anywhere because I couldn't get my hands on him, pretty much.
Yeah, he's going to be on the tops of the list for a lot of weeks.
I think you're right. I think Roddy White is on his way down, too. Not because he's a bad or getting too old or anything like that, but I don't know. It just seems to me like maybe Julio's replacing him. However, they don't have a run game, so maybe they'll both do really well. Brandon Marshall was third on this list. Stephen Hill, Andre Johnson, Lance Moore, and then there's your main man, Randall Cobb, up there.
Yes, I have Randall Cobb, I think, on every team that I own.
Well, did you play him last night?
I did play him last night, and just as predicted, since I played him, it was not as a stellar performance as what we would have liked.
Fair enough.
But since almost every team I'm playing this week is also playing James Jones, he did at least outperform James Jones, and so I'm okay there, just head-to-head that matchup.
And he was adequate considering what the game was like, for sure. But it's not going to stand up throughout the week, most likely. You know, we might as well get into this. I kind of skipped over this quarterbacks, but I think it's fair for us to talk about Jay Cutler at this point too. Man, I started him in a money league last night, and in another, I guess, family league or something. Wow. I don't even know what to say. It was so bad.
He was Jay Cutler-esque.
Oh,
this is the type of performance you get from Jay Cutler every year, at least 2 or 3 performances, where he just goes out and just completely smokes you.
I have to say.
But it's that offensive line. It's terrible.
Yeah. My issue, and this is probably more wishful thinking than anything, but he didn't, and if he had better feet, he could have done more, okay? But he didn't have. It was like last year where there's no offensive line at all. And he just didn't have any time to work or anything like that. He did throw some terrible balls. And that Brandon Marshall would have been a touchdown. Wasn't his fault, but still.
When you have the predator breathing down your neck, you'd probably throw some terrible balls too.
I would probably throw terrible balls if I was the only one on the field. Most likely. So, yeah, I got smoked from that guy, and so that means Andrew Luck starts next week, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to look at the matchup. I may go with him again. You never know. All right. Well, let's look at our tight ends. And let's see here. Tight ends. Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski at the top of the list. Imagine that.
And then your boy, Dennis Pitta.
Yeah. I watched that game, and he had a great game. I guess a lot of people did. It was a Monday night game. you know, they just went right at him. That jump ball in the end zone was awesome. That was a really, I mean, either that, I mean, since he caught it, it was awesome. If that had been an interception or something, it would have been a terrible play, obviously. But he was a solid 6 inches taller than that dude.
But no Ed Dixon.
And no Ed Dixon. And I finally listened to you and dropped him before this game, so feeling good about that. Although next week, you know, Pittle will be silent, and probably Ed Dixon will be the one that then ends up with all the catches.
It'll flip-flop there.
Yep.
For sure.
Then Finley and Hernandez, who I think are the number 3 and 4 tight ends, probably. Finley, not so much, but I think he has the potential to be there.
I think Gates is still number 3.
Yeah.
Old man.
You know, he's not even on this list, top 20. Is
Nope.
that accurate?
It may not have been.
He was just minimally effective, right?
Right. He dropped an end zone catch and dropped a couple others, and wasn't quite his A game. We'll see if he can get turned around.
Yeah. Beyond that, Mercedes Lewis. He's going to be one of those sneaky guys that only, you know, has big games every 3 games or something like that.
Yeah.
Martellus Bennett.
The Black Unicorn.
Looked good against the Cowboys. I would really like for that to stay. I'm going to start him this week. We'll get to that here in a minute, but I think I'm going to play him and my main man, Jermaine Gresham, together.
Wow, 2 tight ends.
Well, I don't have much else to choose from. It's kind of Ben Tate or Andre Roberts or Martellus Bennett kind of thing. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, all right, we'll get away from this and get into more of what happened to us this past week. So let me throw this up on the screen here. Dynasty League. And this is inaccurate, I think. Well, it might be fairly. This is league standings. We got Gronk, Deer Slyer, myself, Callis Cowboys, Red and Yellow, Tough Acton, and then there you are, Fighting Irish. And that rounds out all the teams that won week 1 in the Dynasty League. You were not impressive necessarily, and at the same time, you completely crushed your competition.
You just have to be a little bit better than the guy you're playing.
That's, yeah. I mean, that
held that true this week.
If you can win every single week, then those points don't matter, I suppose. So let's see. I won my week 1 matchup, which is showing up right now. And these scores have been changed due to some late action by the commissioner trying to figure out the defensive scoring. And I applaud him for that, for sure. We actually lost a member over all that in this league and had to replace somebody. But yeah, I got lucky because a lot of my guys scored touchdowns. You know, LaFell and Floyd, Michael Bush scored 2. So that's what kind of carried me, I think. And looking forward this week, I have already started Jay Cutler, as discussed and disgusted. And I think he gave me 6 points in this league scoring format. I also started Michael Bush with my Matt Forte. And, you know, neither one was great, but I was glad to have started him since he played the second half. I'm looking forward to Ray Rice. I'll have Malcolm Floyd. I'll have Brandon LaFell. I'll have Hakeem Nicks for sure. And then I don't see another receiver that I want to start. And that's why I'm left with Martellus and Jermaine. And then what this does not reflect is after I made this graphic, I did pick up Washington Redskins and I didn't even realize what I was doing, but they will start for me this week.
I think that's a wise move.
Yeah, I had
against the Rams.
I had Bears versus Packers. That would have been bad, I guess. And then I've got Cardinals and Eagles, and I didn't want to play either one of them. So what we're looking at here is also red and yellow fever. I'm going to skip through that here. Let me take my Feely off. He's got Tom Brady. Both of the leagues that we're going to talk about tonight are starting Donald Jones against me. This guy still has Fred Jackson in his lineup, but that was a few days ago. I know he's picked up someone else since then.
You're saying he's starting Donald Jones or Donald Brown?
Thank you. Donald Brown.
Your
Who's Donald
cousin.
Jones? Is that a wide receiver for the Bills?
Donald Jones is for the Bills.
Yeah. I meant to say Donald Brown, absolutely. He, both of my opponents in our money leagues are starting him. But the good news is I can't remember who he picked up to replace Fred Jackson. And then he's got Michael Turner, my ex-boyfriend. Anquan Bolden, Andre Johnson, Brandon Lloyd. Those all sound viable. Scary. McCluster does not sound crazy scary to me, but you never know. He could go off for sure. Or have like a, an 80-yard touchdown. And then well, go ahead.
His pickup was Daryl Richardson, backup for
St. Louis or something?
St. Louis, yeah.
Okay. So I'm not afraid of that.
No.
So he's going to start Donald Brown and Michael Turner and then roll with some wide receivers or maybe an extra tight end or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, as of right now, he'll have two tight ends going as well, Owen Daniels and Finley.
Owen Daniels.
His receivers are pretty solid.
Yeah.
Especially based off of last week. That doesn't mean, of course, anything for this week.
I'm expecting to lose this week. I was expecting to lose last week too, but yeah, I'm not feeling real good about this. And I'm already starting in a hole. So, let's see here. Moving on. I brought back up the league standings. I don't want to do that. So let's move to your week 1 matchup. Yeah, you crushed this guy. What do you want to say about that? Bushwhackers.
I think he's probably one of the weaker opponents that we're going against. He hasn't made many moves throughout anything, and just all in all, just got lucky to have to go against him at the beginning. I didn't get any super stellar responses from anybody on my team, but it was all just solid, but nothing super spectacular or crazy or anything like that.
Right. I mean, Breeze was... in this league, for the way that scores, Breeze was higher end even though he didn't have a great game.
Right.
And Jeremy Macklin produced for you in this league and for me in the other league, quite well. And they carried your team pretty much.
Yeah.
Bradshaw
and Charles had, decent games, not great games. Richardson was a little disappointing overall, but not disappointing in he did exactly about what I expected him to do. But all my receivers did solid, just not spectacular.
Torrey Smith, I think we would have expected more from him for some reason.
Yes.
And Gates.
But that's the way Torrey Smith is. He play him for the potential of getting 3 touchdowns and 177 yards or something like that, like what he had for St. Louis.
And
or against St. Louis last year.
If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all of his scoring came either in the first quarter or in the first quarter and just the first couple of minutes of the second quarter.
Yeah, he had a reverse for 40-ish yards or something like that, and then a pass of 51 yards, and I think that may have been all he did the rest of the game.
Yeah. And, Bolden had a touchdown, and Ray Rice obviously had 2 and that kind of thing. So. Well, this week, let's see. Do you have decisions to make on this team?
Not a ton, but just basically if I choose to play a hobbled Macklin against a Baltimore defense, which I think that I'm going to sit him, and I may play Kyle Rudolph, a second tight end as well, kind of a theme of the week apparently, going against Indianapolis, who, while they're switching defensive schemes, has traditionally not done well against tight ends. And I'm hoping maybe to get a touchdown there or something like that.
And then you'll play Crabtree. You've already played Cobb.
Yes.
And
Torrey Smith. Those receivers.
Yeah, right.
So.
And then Bradshaw and Charles. And you're gonna roll with Richardson again?
I'm gonna roll with Richardson. I don't feel confident in throwing Stewart out there with his ankle and not knowing exactly where he's at with everything.
Right.
So I'm just looking for some solid-ish type points there from Richardson again, and it has the potential though to do a little bit more. But I'm just expecting him to be a fairly average performance.
Yeah. Well,
if the projections hold through, which they obviously did not for Randall Cobb, I just need a solid week from him. So.
Well, I've brought up your matchup, so now we're seeing Richie's team, Unleash 52, and
which I'd like to point out, by the way, is not the greatest 52 of all time, being
because he's referring to somebody on the 49ers, right?
Patrick Willis, who's certainly a very wonderful player, but not the 52 people should think of.
This might be a great time to talk about who the number 52 might actually be. Or we want to save that?
Doesn't matter to me. I can talk about.
I'm so pumped for that. I didn't watch the one this week either, and I want to see it too. But I am so stoked, like you said, for that one. So we'll come back to it. But yeah, he's got a real mediocre team, honestly.
He was helped with some news of today. It sounds like that Darrelle Revis is going to be out with his concussion, so there will be no Revis Island going against Pittsburgh, meaning Wallace and Antonio Brown will be able to open things up a little bit more.
Right, and I mean, I wouldn't call Cromartie underrated, but he certainly doesn't get the attention that he deserves with Revis around. But at least both of them won't be out there.
Right.
Yeah, I've got Antonio Brown going somewhere too, and I'm excited about that. Wes Welker, I don't know about Wes Welker. I mean, I guess he's going to do better than he did last week, but still, overall, this team is not terribly exciting.
In a PPR, you can't count him out.
Right.
And there's your boy Donald Jones starting as well.
Oh, he does?
Yes.
Okay. I do not have that up to date. What do you think about Fred Davis so far? I couldn't even tell you what he did last week, honestly.
I don't know. All I know it was the RG Junior, as you called him earlier, show. Junior killed it.
He did. Yeah, that's awesome.
Washington fans definitely have something to potentially look forward to there. A little excitement coming to town.
Indeed.
And bringing it to Missouri against those Rams, who they can stomp every day of the week. And
then I'd like to go ahead and just show your logo. I may want to do that like every week. I'm going to have to download the audio and play that next week, possibly.
All right.
Look at my shoes. How's it go? My buckles on my shoes.
I'm a leprechaun.
Close enough, I guess.
It actually scared one of the members in the Dynasty who heard it for the first time the other day. Sent me a text about wetting his pants.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you feel at least relatively confident, I would say, in that matchup.
No more than I do any other week, because I've learned that all those projections, it just really doesn't matter.
But I like your guys better, you know? Just the eyeball test, I would vote for your team over that. I would vote for my opponent over me. eyeball test kind of thing.
Yeah, his Chris Johnson. I think that Chris Johnson underperformed last week, and I'm still a Chris Johnson believer for overall for the year. I think that he'll perform better than what he did last week. I think Sean Green is nearly a piece of trash, and especially in a PPR. Maybe if he gets lucky and falls into the end zone or something like that, but he generally can't even do that. And Reggie Bush is a good player for him. He, running back wise, is not you don't think, oh gosh, but for this type of format and things like that, Reggie Bush is actually a really good player.
Yeah.
And Miami has nothing else in that offense
That
to
is
really
so true.
do anything
Nothing
with.
else. Who are they going up against? Oakland?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oakland's coming to town.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So.
But they should be able to practice for everything that Reggie Bush did, because that's what Darren McFadden did on Monday night. Just took swing pass after swing pass type thing, and
Yeah, I mean, he only had like 30 yards or 31 yards or something in the 30s, I think, rushing, but had a huge game with the dump-offs. Well, moving on to Bad Boys League. I'm going to go ahead and...
oh, I do have to say, though, in Dynasty,
yeah.
I feel like you need to try to figure out something to you really handcuff yourself with Jay Cutler, Michael Bush, and Matt Forte for long term. You're riding a lot of Bears players there.
I agree, and I mean, not just because of last night's situation, but and you know this already, but my ultimate goal is to move away from Jay Cutler. And I think that the injury that happened to Matt Forte really, it helped solidify my logic on getting Michael Bush. You know, I don't believe in handcuffing every single starter that you have, but I think Matt Forte, Michael Bush, I think Arian Foster and Ben Tate. Are there others? There's got to be a couple others that, you know, are good handcuffs to have. But I absolutely agree with you.
I have to say I'm a little, I guess, maybe embarrassed. I have no idea what happened with Forte.
Oh, early on in the second half, he caught a pass and ran for about 20 yards or 15 yards. And as he was going down, Woodson's knee got behind one of his ankles. And when he came down on him, he rolled his ankle. So he's got a high ankle sprain right now and is not expected to play for a couple weeks.
Well, then having Bush there will be awesome for you in both leagues.
Absolutely. But I mean, to your point, having Jay Cutler, whether I have 8 other Bears or whether I have 0 other Bears on my team is not a good idea. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if that offense stalls, and it did, then that's a third of my team right there, and a third of my scoring that's not happening basically. So yeah, I've got Andrew Luck, and I guess I've got Russell Wilson in that league, and I'm gonna have to move away from Cutler. I just thought it would be different this year. I don't know why. So moving on to Bad Boys, I am going to bring up, last week we had you on the phone from Argentina, and this is you with the short hair and the blue headband, and your cop glasses, I guess, and a goatee, or I don't know what the actual, the correct name of that is. And you're there at your...
I believe it's a loser's face. I think that would be the correct.
I'm sorry, a what?
That would be a loser's face.
A loser's face. At the Arrowhead, it looks like. And so, well...
And I was a loser there as well.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. You're no longer at Arrowhead Arena, or Arrowhead Stadium any longer. It appears that you are in the basement there. I'm not sure what's going on in that basement, but it looks dank and, very wet and very gross. So, oh, here we go. Here's the standings of Bad Boys Redraft League. And there you are. For Argentina Rhinos, all the way down in number 12 spot. Yeah. And let's see what happened in that game. Oh, that's right. You went up against Touchdown Brown. You know, I had a solid representation from my team, and you just didn't. You had a couple of good guys, and you had a couple, like, that was your Greg Little situation, and the Buffalo Bills defense, shocking. I think that's absolutely shocking as far as the Bills are concerned. Hello?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, good. I was like...
There's just nothing to really say other than you really beat the hell out of me.
So moving on. How about that? Let's look at this week. That's the best thing you can do, either in professional sports or fantasy sports, I think, is just move on to the next week.
And as far as this week's go, I'm starting off a little bit better than what I did the other game against you. So he started off, and he has 3 Packers that have played: Aaron Rodgers, James Jones, and somebody else. I can't recall off the top of my head, but
well, let's see here.
All underperformed.
We're talking about Wildcats, is that right?
That would be correct.
Rodgers and...
Oh, he had Alshon Jeffrey, a Bear.
Alshon Jeffrey. Now, he's got Julio Jones.
But he also has James Jones.
He does?
Yes.
Did he pick him up maybe during the week and I missed it?
I believe so.
And then he must have dropped Kendall Wright
or
Robert Turbin.
Wright's on his bench.
Right? Okay. Did he drop Turbin then?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe that was the drop.
All right, I got you. So he's got, man, he's keeping up with the Joneses is what you're getting at.
That's right.
He loves some of these guys a lot, too. Titus Young, Kendall Wright.
Yes, and they did absolutely nothing.
Right.
Well, I guess Kendall Wright I don't think had an absolutely terrible game, but nothing spectacular.
Well, and I think that'll change. Well, I don't know how badly hurt Washington was, but Britt will start to see more time.
Yes.
So let's see here. As I take this off, then I've got this incorrect. So did he start James Jones in place of Titus Young then?
He did.
Okay. And then he's got Ahmad Bradshaw and Kevin Smith going, possibly.
Right, and Kevin Smith's got a terrible matchup against San Francisco.
Absolutely.
Which means he'll probably do very well. He'll catch a bunch out of the backfield or something like that. Generally, running backs could do okay against San Francisco if they're involved in the passing game, but that's about it.
And on your side, you're starting C.J. Spiller this week, who went from like 101st to like 3rd, basically ranked running back in a week. So against Cincinnati, which should fare well, I would think.
Yeah, I get to start him against my beloved Kansas City Chiefs, and so I'll actually get to watch and see if he does anything against them.
It'll be bittersweet, I suppose.
And I'm kind of stuck rolling with Buffalo again as a defense after they performed so well last week, but I just didn't love any of the other options and just decided to just sit on it. More so because next week I like their matchup against the very crappy Cleveland Browns.
Right.
So just leave it and go. Defenses are so hard to predict.
And you're rolling with Vic again because your backup is Roethlisberger or Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to go with Vic?
Well, after the news of the injuries with the Jets, because they also had another defensive player that I think is going to be ruled out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of who it is off the top of my head. I may decide to switch that out to Big Ben and sit Michael Vick, but Vick's got that 70-point potential that in this league is something you covet. So,
well, if it helps you,
haven't decided. I think that Roethlisberger may be the safer play, and I might just need safe to win. But playing it safe could also have you lose.
if it helps you make your decision at all in a league that doesn't matter, I did bench Vic and start Jay Cutler.
Well, that was an awesome choice.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really thrilled about it. Yeah, but the rest of your team looks awesome, honestly.
So last week we didn't really have an opportunity to do anything like this, but a lot of times when you and I are talking on the phone about our fantasy football teams and wasting time, it's generally talking about trades, and trades that we can not only make with each other but also other people. And so I have some discussion on that I'd like to run by you.
Yeah, great.
So I've been talking to, and it just happens to be the Wildcats guy. He was saying about how, he really feels like he's struggling for his third wide receiver and his flex position moving forward, partly because they scored so well for him last night. And I was like, well, hey, I have a thing for Kyle Rudolph. And since Jermaine Gresham, your boy, he doesn't ever do it for me, but he's the guy I got in this league. I certainly don't feel like Kyle Rudolph is a monumental upgrade, and not even an upgrade over Jermaine Gresham, but it would give me another option of things. And so, I was thinking, well, hey, I could maybe be a Huckleberry and be in some action. So he threw out his first offer was Mikel LeSure and Randall Cobb for Jermaine Gresham for Kyle Rudolph and Alshon Jeffrey. So I just wanted to get your opinion on what you thought about that.
Alshon Jeffrey and Kyle Rudolph for Mikel LeSure and
Cobb. Randall Cobb. Essentially, right now, it would be two bench players for two bench players, because I don't feel like I'd be starting either one of his players on my team right away.
Right. Yeah, I feel like Randall Cobb is the most exciting guy in that trade. If you were trading Jermaine Gresham and LeSure, I'd do it in a heartbeat if I were you. Just because I know you like both Alshon Jeffrey and Kyle Rudolph.
I'm actually not a big Jeffrey guy. Okay. I don't hate him, but I don't like that trade. What I kind of shot back at him was Sidney Rice for Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, and I think Sidney Rice has some potential. I don't think you or I either one like him, though. You like him more, for sure.
Just as a number one on that team, which I'm not sure how good that is for anything.
It just remains to be seen, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would pull those triggers, for sure. It's not exciting enough to do, especially, would you try to pull them off before Sunday?
I don't believe so. Well, if I did, I don't feel like I would, because he's not going to play Sidney Rice over Julio Jones and Roddy White, so it's not like he'd play any of the guys that I would trade him. Of course, LeSure is suspended, so he would be playing him as well.
It'd be nice to get rid of LeSure, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, actually, I'm really high on him. I'm thinking that if C.J. Spiller, when that Fred Jackson comes back, that I would probably end up. I think LeSure is going to end up being the long term in Detroit. So I'm a little higher on him.
This season, even?
For this season, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Down the road. He's not a first couple weeks guy. He's a guy for when somebody gets injured.
It's definitely not one of those, awesome, sexy trades.
No,
sure.
there's nothing sexy about any of them. The other thing is out there is one of our favorite players, Greg Olsen, is on the waiver wire, and I feel like I could probably add him for no significant loss and get about the same as what Kyle Rudolph would bring to the table.
Yeah, I like Rudolph. I like Olsen. I have a love affair going pretty far back with Olsen. Who would you drop for that then, or would you say, if you don't want to say?
Oh, no, it'd be pretty obvious, I think, on my team, no Sean Marino.
Oh, right, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I like Olsen. I don't know if you get in a spot where you wouldn't know who to start, but I guess you've got that flex spot to where if you got too crazy about it, you could play Gresham and Olsen.
Yeah, I had to play flexes last year with tight ends, and I never really loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It limits you. I want to stick away from that, so I think I'd be playing matchups between Olsen and Gresham as far as who would play where. But I also feel like I could probably move Gresham. People still like him a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think I could still get. And in this league, whenever we make trades, the projections, people go crazy for him. And Gresham projects well, and so I feel like I could use that to my advantage.
And of all the places that I've seen, the site that you're talking about in particular has the absolute worst projections. And especially when it comes to trade, it doesn't seem like when they calculate those trades, it doesn't seem like they're taking the whole picture into account.
No.
So I don't know. Sounds like you're not going to make that trade.
No, I don't think so. I might wait and see how the waiver wire stuff goes with Olsen, and if I get him, I get him. I'm certainly not going to.
I can't stop yawning on camera, by the way.
No, I'm super tired too. I got up and worked through this morning, so. And just me going on and on and on about my team would put anybody to sleep, I think. So let's move on to your team.
Oh, well. Yeah, I have a tough matchup this week. Speaking of trades, I made a trade this past week as well in this league. I was offered something else that I hated, and I can't remember what it was, so I won't spend time thinking about it. But then, real quickly, right after that, I was offered Jason Witten and Justin Blackmon for Jeremy Maclin, who had a huge first week, or a really good first week at least. Witten did not. Blackmon did not. Macklin's banged up, and Vic is inconsistent looking, I guess. So I went ahead and accepted that. I think that there's hope for Blackmon, if there's hope for anybody on that team as far as receiving goes. He didn't do anything the first week, as I said. And Witten, I think Witten will be what makes that happen, that trade, worth it in the end.
Oh, yeah, I think you definitely upgraded your tight end from Jared Cook to Witten. And you got to keep Jared Cook in it. So.
Yeah, and I've got Owen Daniels in the mix, honestly, too. And neither Cook nor Daniels do I believe are going to be super studs. I think they both have the potential to be consistently solid enough to start. But I think Witten could get healthy and be awesome.
He's the number 3 receiver in that offense.
Absolutely. And so let's be honest, I'm a homer. Big time homer, and so I love to have a good Cowboy on my team for sure. So, that being said, moving on to I'm playing Bobby this week in that league, and yeah, I'm not looking forward to this, honestly. None of these. The only good news that I can really have for this particular league is that I don't have Jay Cutler on my team. He did have Brandon Marshall. And Forte put up 19 points on a projected 23 in this league. So I think that's great, honestly. Or I can feel good about that.
Well, and next week, you'll be able to play Bush against St. Louis.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like, and I'll just take credit for it, I feel like that strategy has already worked out. Still, we're not even really into week 2 yet, but I'm laying down, I'm patting my back already. But yeah, he's got Breeze, Cruz, Marshall, Austin, Doug Martin, Trent Richardson, Fred Davis, Donald Brown, and I've got Rivers, Harvin Brown, Antonio, LaFell, Chris Johnson, Forte already played, Witten, and Stephen Ridley. I don't know if I'm going to play Witten. I think I am, though.
Yeah, I definitely would. I would roll with him and not look back.
And also, I want to point out, I'm not like in love with Stephen Ridley by any stretch, but playing the Cardinals, he's my flex, no doubt.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't. You know, as good a week as he had last week.
Yep. So
the only real question I would have on your team would be playing Brandon LaFell versus one of your other wide receivers, Denarius Moore or Justin Blackmon. And I would agree with your choice of LaFell, especially in the potential shootout that could happen in that game, and not trusting Moore and whether his health will be a factor or not just yet.
Yes, the moment Moore is healthy, I will replace those two, or swap those two probably. And then otherwise, I'm looking at Blackmon. I just have to see something out of him, I would think, first. I secretly have a real man crush on LaFell. I don't know. He's like, he's one of those guys that if this was Vegas, I'd be rolling the dice on him, basically, kind of thing. And plus, if we're talking about my wide receiver 3, which isn't unimportant by any stretch, but, you know, it's not my starter, or it's not my number 1, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like I could win this, but I don't feel confident in that in any way. So, yeah.
Well, if it means anything, I picked you to win.
Oh, well.
And after I think I only got one game right picking out of the 6 in this league, that should make you feel confident that you are going to lose.
Hey, you know, and I like the new, they have a little page there where you can track all the picks this year, too. Like it's another competition kind of thing.
Right.
And I'm tied for first in that. I had 3 correct this week. Or last week. So, yeah, we'll see. Only 2 people picked me to win out of like 8 or 9, so. I shocked the world. I shocked them. All right, well, let's talk about, I mean, is there anything else? We've hit Cutler and that kind of thing, and other, you know, Hakeem Nicks, we both own him in these 2 different leagues. I don't know what to expect out of him. Getting better, but he's still skipping every other practice right now.
Yeah, you just roll with him. I mean,
he's
too good not to play.
I agree. And I think he'll get back into it for sure at some point. So, NFL Network, they do that series called is it American Life? No.
Football Life.
A Football Life. And they did the Tebow one this past week, which I did not see, and I do want to. But this coming week, dun dun dun, I'll hand off to you.
Oh yeah, Ray Lewis is getting on there, and I'm unfortunately not going to be able to watch it because I'll be at a location that doesn't have NFL Network, but I'm super stoked about watching it. Ray Lewis is definitely probably the best leader the NFL's, I'd say, ever had, as far as just being able to inspire his teammates and things like that. So I'm super excited about it.
I'm super excited about this photograph of you on the phone from Argentina, honestly. I'm just staring at it while you're talking. But yeah, you're right. I think that he's amazing. There's been, at some point, there was a lot of negative publicity around him, and it really kind of tarnished him. And, I mean, he was a peripheral person in my world anyway at that point. And I was just like, oh, he must be a bad guy or something. But I've come to think a lot differently about that, and I'm really excited about that. He's just such an emotional guy, and it seems like a real positive kind of leader in a world of a bunch of real turds.
I completely agree.
And so, I'm excited to see that. I don't know if I'll catch it live or not. I'll have to watch it in a rerun or something, but very excited to see that. And of course, he is, referring back to what we were talking about, the best number 52, right?
Without question.
So, yeah, otherwise, I don't know. Most of my playing is done on Sunday daytime. Sunday night and Monday night games don't affect me hardly any at all. And I have a busy weekend, so I don't get to just plant myself in front of the Sunday ticket either.
Well, maybe you can use that mobile on the go that you got.
Well, I don't think I can. Thanks for reminding me of that. I didn't pay enough, thank you. But yeah,
You can at least catch the highlights on the Red Zone channel then.
absolutely. You know, and occasionally there are things more important than football, I suppose. But week 2, you know, I don't feel like I'm going to win, so maybe it's just as well that I'm not there. Okay, well, do you have anything else that you're thinking about that we should talk about?
I've just been so behind this week as far as just real life, not fantasy life, that I haven't been able to really keep up with things as well as I normally like to. So I don't have a lot of more interesting thoughts than anything that I've really shared, which is not interesting at all.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've been super busy this week, and so I was actually really sad to have been able to watch that game last night. It was fairly unbelievable. So, all right, well then this will do it for this week's the worst fantasy football show ever. I'm Sean. Ryan's on the phone from Fargentina. Let me see if I can point to you. Oh, there we go. Ryan's on the phone from Fargentina, right there. And unfortunately for you, if you're the person watching out there, we will be back next week. Thanks, and I'm going to roll credits, y'all.
Be safe. Don't text and drive.